Cap City Sports Podcast. This is one of your hosts, Nate. This is a new podcast that we are starting. So I'm here with Nathaniel, Gage. You guys can introduce yourselves.
I'm Nathaniel. Excited about getting to chat about sports and whatever else we decide may be relevant to talk about or get sidetracked on.
Hey guys, I'm Gage. We're just super excited just to bring you guys some new content, just some new thoughts to think about in terms of sports, and just see where these conversations go, and just see how exciting we can make this content for you guys.
With that being said, I'm sure some of you probably are familiar with Nathaniel and I from the Grove podcast. This is kind of a continuation of that, but in that same vein, we want this to be a new podcast. We are adding Gage because of his expertise in sports as well. But this podcast is going to be a little bit more generic. So the Grove, Nathaniel and I kind of focused on Ohio State football. We really wanted it to be specific to Ohio State football. But we love sports. We love more than just Ohio State football and college football. We want to open it up a little bit. So Cap City Sports, I think, you guys correct me if you have a different vision, but my vision for it at least is for this to be a podcast about not just college football and Ohio State, but other sports, mostly around Ohio. You know, the Blue Jackets, the Cavs, the Crew, the Clippers, whatever else we want to talk about, but also professional sports and sports outside of Ohio as well. But obviously with that Ohio leading, as we are all Ohioans in this room. But before we start, a little bit about us. I am Nate. I am 25 years old, and I have watched sports my entire life. Been a huge sports fan. Grew up rooting for the Gators, not the Buckeyes, sadly. These two are going to make fun of me. Still a Gators fan before I'm a Buckeye, but I did go to Ohio State, and I do love the Bucks. But I'm a big Gators guy, big Buckeyes guy. My NFL team is the Jags, but I do have a background in soccer as well, playing throughout high school. And I am kind of the tech guy in this, so
It's the only reason we can do a podcast.
The only reason.
But with that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Nathaniel. He can kind of introduce himself here.
I am Nathaniel. I am also 25 years old. I grew up here in Columbus, Ohio, so Ohio State is my tried and true. If I had to pick a team, that would be my number one would be the Buckeyes. I'm also a big Cowboys fan, which conflicts a little bit. Everybody hates the Cowboys, but the Eagles fan sitting next to me especially hates the Cowboys. Luckily, we both like Ohio State. Big LeBron guy, LeBron follower, but mostly Dallas professional sports, so the Mavs and the Cowboys, but love me some Ohio teams. Like to root for all the Ohio teams. So like Nate said, like to talk about big picture sports as well. So we'll see what we get into here, but that's a little bit about me. Yeah. Gage.
I'm Gage. I'm 27, so I guess I'm the old man in the room. Grandpa. Born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, too, with Nathaniel. Similarly, I'm a lifelong Ohio State fan. Little different, though. My dad is from Pennsylvania. He's from right outside of Philadelphia in a suburb called Coatesville. So there was a good decade of my life where I was also a Penn State fan, like along with Ohio State. I kind of split household. My mom was born and raised in Gahanna, Ohio State fan. Dad was from Pennsylvania, Penn State fan. So I kind of had both leans. I think I always leaned Ohio State, being from Columbus, but I definitely had some blue years in there. And then when the whole scandal happened, my dad just said, yeah, Gage, let's be Ohio State fans. So really didn't really look back from there. I am a die-hard Philadelphia Eagles fan. No, I'm not okay. I'm still recovering from the Super Bowl. It's not okay. So Nathaniel, I have lots of fun with him being a Cowboys fan and me being an Eagles fan. Thankfully, we do have the Ohio State link with us.
Right.
I'm kind of an oxymoron because I am a big LeBron James fan. I'm also a Jordan guy, so that causes some issues as well. But yeah, so I grew up playing basketball and football all throughout high school and just live to watch sports. The summertime is the depressing time when football and basketball are on. So now I feel alive again. Now that football is back and basketball will be back in October. So
Best time of the year.
the best time of the year. So just excited to keep on watching more football and talk about what's happening with these guys.
As we're recording, we're also watching the Virginia Maryland game. So, even as we record podcasts, we are constantly watching college football.
Always.
Just also a little bit of insight how we are all connected. I think that's probably relevant
That's
information.
good. Yeah.
We didn't just meet each other online. Hey, you like sports? Let's start a podcast. So Nate and I have known each other since we were 6.
That's 19 years for you math whiz out there.
19 years. So we have known each other for a very long time. Like Nate said earlier, we did do an Ohio State podcast 2 years ago. I think we did about 6 or 7 episodes.
Yep.
Decided to both get married, do other big adult stuff.
Got a little busy.
Got a little distracted, but we're coming back to it now. And then Gage and I have been coworkers for the last 6 months, become pretty good friends through the process, and this has kind of just, come out of nowhere, but we're all excited about it. I feel like I don't know anything to add there as far as that goes.
I think you did that pretty well. I do want to ask you guys, what 3 leagues do you think you have the most experience in? So I'll start myself to give you an example. I think I'm probably the most knowledgeable in college football. After that, maybe the NFL, and then probably the MLS. But just so listeners are aware where our specialties lie and where we have strengths, those would be mine. I don't know where you guys fall, but
I definitely lean NFL. I am psychotic and I'm in 7 different fantasy football leagues. So I can watch NFL football, watch NFL football all day and watch highlights the next day of the games I already watched and whatnot. Then probably NBA. I can keep up with the NBA pretty well. I like watching professionals at work who do their job well. Then, probably college football next. I'm not quite the whiz when it comes to recruiting, like the off season. I don't really get into it very much, but when the season's on, I'll watch every ranked team play. Anytime there's an upset that looks like it's going down, I'm going to tune in and watch. Even though upsets aren't going to mean that much in a year when there's a 12-team playoff, but that's a different podcast for the day.
It's a good podcast topic.
that would be a great topic.
Definitely college football number 1. I feel like I have the most knowledge about that, with obviously Ohio State being the focus of that. Pretty much a nut, no pun intended there, on recruiting as well. So a little bit different than Gage. I think Nate would agree with me as well. We follow recruiting pretty closely. Not just Ohio State, kind of across the board, know where the top players are going. But definitely college football number 1. And I wouldn't say that there's one that I know more, but definitely NFL and NBA would be my 2 and 3. I don't know if I know more. I think NBA is a little bit easier to know about the teams because there's less players. Mm-hmm. But I could name you at least 3 to 5 players from almost any NFL team. So.
I thought you were going to say 3 to 5 players total.
No. That probably wouldn't be qualified to be sitting
I
here.
might be able to
That
name
was
8.
the case. So I would say that's about it. Also a fantasy guy. Not in 7 leagues. I'm in 2, but
I'm psychotic. I know I need help. It's okay. It's okay.
What's the most amount of leagues you've done in 1 year?
Oh, 7. But so this is, I'm in 7, and then I'm doing a against the spread league.
Gotcha.
We pick 5 games against the spread each week, and then the winner is like the best record after all 18 weeks of the season. And then I'm also in an eliminator, like Survivor League.
Mm-hmm.
You pick a winner in each week. So I don't know how I organize it all. I just kind of wake up every morning and just check the waiver wire, see, just
Breathe football.
breathe. I love it. I love it. It's really not. It's not work. It's not too much to me.
right.
I think 5 is my most, which you're probably close to that, right?
4 was the most I've ever done. Yeah.
Feels like too much to me, but Gage seems to enjoy it.
I could 2. I was stretching for 2. I definitely go all in the leagues that I was up at 5:45 this morning, sitting in the bathroom. I was going through my fantasy football waiver wire. So
It is definitely hard being in that many leagues because you do have some overlap. Like you do in general. Like there's players preseason that you like.
Right.
So you obviously want to have those players on your team. So you do have multiple players on multiple teams, but you do kind of find yourself some weeks you have one guy on 2 teams, but he's also on 2 teams you're playing. So it does kind of come back to bite you a little bit when you're in that many leagues. But hey, you gotta give yourself a shot. So
It's true. So needless to say, if we need a baseball podcast, we will definitely be pulling someone else in to be a specialist on that.
Yeah.
We're not MLB, but we will find someone. So
I think
don't worry.
I know a little bit about
We
hockey.
understand the basics.
You
but-
know a little bit about soccer. You know a lot about soccer. I know a little bit about hockey, and then we all kind of are familiar with UFC. So we might mix that all in there a little bit, but
Guys are always fun too.
yeah, we can get some guys on. We know some other guys who like sports.
Well, with that being said, thank you guys for listening in. I think this is a good time to end our little trailer, a little mini first podcast here. Hopefully we get to know all of you better. We love hearing from you guys as well. So if you have questions or topics you would like to discuss, feel free to send those to us. If you're listening to this, you probably know us personally, so you're welcome to text us. If you do not, we do have an email that you can send stuff to. I know
Or comments on
Very old school.
YouTube if we get it on YouTube.
comments on YouTube are also great.
please give us debate topics. So those are fun.
Yes, they are. But if you want to email us, it's capcitysportsohio@gmail.com. Or like Nathaniel said, comments are super easy on YouTube as well. But thank you guys for listening in, and we will catch you next time.